Hello and good evening. It's been a big day for India at the international stage. A major proposal has been accepted by consensus at the United Nations General Assembly. A K-pitch has also been made for inclusion of Jawahar port in the international north-south transport corridor. And India and Bangladesh have reinforced their stature as exemplary neighbors. We'll be getting you all the details on Newsnight tonight, and we'll be talking about these developments with our guests as well. I'm Gautam Roy, but first, our headlines. External Affairs Minister Dr S Jaishankar visits Dhaka, meets his Bangladesh counterpart to prepare for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first foreign visit in the COVID era later this month to celebrate Mujib Borsho, 50 years of liberation of Bangladesh and Golden Jubilee of India-Bangladesh diplomatic ties. Terms India-Bangladesh relations, a 360-degree partnership, also comes on Bangladesh PM Sheikh Hasina. India proposes the inclusion of the Jawahar port in the international north-south transport corridor route. Addressing Jawahar Day at the Maritime India Summit 2021, External Affairs Minister Dr S Jaishankar says the shift in the fulcrum of global economic growth towards Asia is creating unprecedented opportunities for connectivity in the region. The United Nations General Assembly unanimously adopts India's sponsored resolution declaring 2023 as International Year of Millets. Prime Minister Modi hails the move and thanks co-sponsor nations on social media. Says consumption of millets furthers nutrition, food security and welfare of farmers. Bloodiest day in the military junta's crackdown against protesters since the 1st of February coup. Over 50 killed and several others injured. UN rights body and world leaders condemn the violence. The United Nations Security Council said to discuss the situation in Myanmar in a closed meeting on Friday. Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan is defiant in face of a no-confidence motion in the Pakistan National Assembly after embarrassing loss of Senate candidate. Addresses the nation saying he'll seek confidence vote. Alleges the no-confidence motion is an opposition tactic to get him to drop corruption charges against their leaders. Vaccination drive gathers pace in the country. Several union ministers, chief ministers, lieutenant governors and opposition leaders get the shot. But fresh COVID case numbers still remain high in states like Maharashtra, Kerala, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Karnataka. Vaccine Maitri also goes strong. African nation Lesotho and Canada receive made in India vaccine doses. Consignment for Ghana, Rwanda, Senegal, Democratic Republic of Congo and Ivory Coast also airlifted. Poll fever rises in poll-bound states. BJP Central Election Committee, led by Prime Minister Modi, meets to finalize candidates list for first two phases of elections. In Tamil Nadu, DMK and AIDMK discuss seat sharing with allies. Rankings for Ease of Living Index 2020 and Municipal Performance Index 2020 announced. Bengaluru, Pune, Ahmedabad are top three cities in the million-plus category. Shimla is ranked number 1 in the less than a million category. Indore and NDMC are leading municipalities. And England crumbles to Indian spinners after winning toss and batting first on day 1 of the fourth and final test. Gets 205 runs on the board as Akshar takes 4 wickets, Ashwin 3 and Sundar 1. India also lose Shubman Gill early, scoring 24 runs at stumps. Well, India and Bangladesh have been exemplary neighbours, particularly since 2014. Now, the ties are set to be cemented further, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the eastern neighbour towards the end of the month to take part in not 1, not 2, but 3 concurrent landmark occasions. External Affairs Minister Dr S Jaishankar visited Dhaka today for a day to meet his Bangladesh counterpart for that purpose and to also discuss the full range of bilateral ties from security to trade, connectivity to culture. Here's more.
India and Bangladesh have remained steadfast friends right from inception of India's eastern neighbour. Now that relationship is set to get a major boost in a landmark year. External Affairs Minister Dr S Jaishankar was in Dhaka on Thursday, meeting his Bangladesh counterpart Dr A.K. Abdul Momin. The two ministers discussed not only the full gamut of bilateral ties but also the preparations for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Dhaka visit later this month. His first foreign visit ever since the COVID pandemic struck, to celebrate 3 concurrent events.
We are working to prepare for the planned visit of our Prime Minister. It will surely be a very memorable visit. If I recall right, it would be his first visit outside India since the coronavirus pandemic, and his second as Prime Minister to Bangladesh. We know that this is a very special year for you, when both countries mark the Mujib Barsha, 50 years of Bangladesh's liberation, and 50 years of our bilateral relationship.
We are very pleased that Prime Minister Modi will join us for the Mujib Barsha celebrations, as well as the Golden Jubilee of Bangladesh independence and 50 years of Bangladesh-India diplomatic relations. We discussed some of the important activities that we plan to undertake jointly to celebrate these historic occasions.
Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina are likely to flag off the direct passenger train service between Dhaka and New Jalpaiguri during the former's Dhaka visit. Both the ministers noted bilateral ties between the two neighbours have made rapid progress since PM Modi took office in 2014. Even the COVID pandemic couldn't slow it down.
Even the pandemic has actually provided an opportunity to reaffirm our friendship. Bangladesh is the largest recipient of Made in India vaccines. Also among the friendship, our largest gift of vaccines of 2 million, which is really appropriate that it is to Bangladesh.
India and Bangladesh have also carried out multiple consultations and on-ground activities during the pandemic, including a virtual summit meet between their top leaders on 17th of December. Dr S Jaishankar also called on Prime Minister Hasina on Thursday during his day-long Dhaka visit. Rajesh Jha's report, Dhaka, DD India.
2020 has been the year of the pandemic, and it's not over yet, but it hasn't deterred Bangladesh and India at all in terms of moving on further, making further progress as far as their ties are concerned. If you just look at the year 2020 alone, and we'll bring that to you right here, you know, in December what happened? Well, there was a virtual summit between Prime Ministers Modi and Sheikh Hasina, where Bangladesh was termed a key pillar of India's neighbourhood first policy at this summit itself. And Sheikh Hasina in turn called India a true friend. The two leaders also inaugurated a rail link between Haldibari and Chilahati. Now, this rail link was defunct since India-Pakistan War of 1965. And Operation Rail Links between India and Bangladesh thereby went up to 5. Now, there's going to be further progress as well. Prime Minister Modi also assured vaccine supply for Bangladesh as and when it's produced in India. This happened in December, and very soon things rolled on further. Now, back in August, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla travelled to Dhaka as well. This was the Foreign Secretary's first visit abroad ever since COVID broke out. In December again, BSF and Border Guard Bangladesh held their 51st DG level talks, 51st mind you. The two forces signed a joint accord of discussion and increased coordinated night patrolling as well. In September, on the 29th, the 6th meeting of India-Bangladesh Joint Consultative Commission was also held virtually. And on the 4th of December, groundbreaking ceremony for 130-kilometer long India-Bangladesh Friendship Pipeline was also conducted. Now, the pipeline is to supply fuel from Numaligarh refinery in Assam to Dinajpur in Bangladesh. In addition to that, if you look at the COVID cooperation, India delivered 2 million COVID vaccine doses to Bangladesh on grant assistance basis, which means basically it's for free. Apart from that, India also delivered 7 million COVID vaccine doses on commercial basis as well. India gave 30,000 surgical masks and 15,000 head covers to prevent COVID spread to Bangladesh as well. Now, back in May, India gave 30,000 RT-PCR test kits as COVID-19 emergency fund to Bangladesh. Again in April, India delivered 1 lakh HCQ tablets to Bangladesh as well. So that's how cooperation has flourished. It's been further progressed on as far as India and Bangladesh are concerned, even in these challenging times through 2020 and now in 2021. Things will be taken further on towards more and more cementing of ties. And that brings up our In Focus tonight. Well, it is all about India-Bangladesh 360-degree partnership. That's how it's been defined as well by the External Affairs Minister today. And to talk about it, we have Veena Sikri with us, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, and Professor Mahendra Ram is also with us, Centre for International Studies. If I could first come to you, Veena Sikri, what do you make of how things have progressed between India and Bangladesh, particularly since 2014 and especially in the year 2020? Because we've seen a lot of progress being made on multiple fronts despite the pandemic.
I think that this is a very important visit by the External Affairs Minister to Dhaka, because it is in preparation also for the visit by our Prime Minister to Bangladesh at the end of the month. And certainly at the end of this month, we are seeing key events in Bangladesh taking place and key events in Bangladesh-India relations taking place. To begin with, most important, it is the golden jubilee of Bangladesh's liberation, the creation of the state of Bangladesh, the country of Bangladesh, and the 50 years of relationship between India and Bangladesh. That's very important. But it's also the centenary year of father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And that is a very tremendous milestone that Bangladesh is observing with great fervor, with great happiness, and recalling the tremendous contribution of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And we have seen that certainly how the relationship between Bangladesh and India has progressed, as you said, since 2014, and also in terms, I would say, also since Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina came to power for her second term as Prime Minister beginning in 2009, and now she's in her fourth term as Prime Minister,
yes,
the third consecutive term. So we've seen in these years from 2014 onwards a great, shall I say, solidification of the relationship, and this has been through implementation of various key agreements and also through working out a program of cooperation that is based on mutual respect, mutual benefit, and mutual trust. So this is the bedstone, the bedrock of our foundation, and this is how we've carried it forward. For example, the land boundary agreement had been signed earlier, but the implementation of the land boundary agreement, the exchange of enclaves, which has been hanging fire right since the days of Bangladesh coming into being, the independence of Bangladesh. But now it's been resolved. The people have moved over. From those who want to live in India are here, those who want to live in Bangladesh are there. It's been resolved in a very, very peaceful and friendly manner. Similarly, the maritime boundary between India and Bangladesh, which had been hanging fire again for a very long time and ultimately went through arbitration. But the results of the arbitration were immediately accepted by India, and now we have a mutually accepted maritime boundary, which gives the potential for developing your cooperation in the Bay of Bengal and developing cooperation through development of the blue economy, through even joint exploration. It's an enormous area of cooperation that has opened up. So these are, various ways that in which the cooperation has been working to the mutual benefit. The third big way in which the cooperation has developed in the last 5 years, 6 years, as you said, is this whole area of connectivity.
Yes.
The connectivity area has different facets of connectivity, and each of these facets has different importance and different meaning for India and for Bangladesh. For example, for India, the most important aspect of the connectivity is that the movement through Bangladesh to the northeast of India. Now, this is very important for us because otherwise you were using the chicken's neck route, and which takes a very long time. But for Bangladesh also, this is very important because through this opening up, Bangladesh gets access to the northeast of India. It gets access to the markets of the northeast of India. And Bangladesh products can be sold in the northeast. There is tremendous scope for investment collaboration, for setting up of production units, whether it is to do with processing of fruits and vegetables, whether it is due to processing of bamboo and making of bamboo products, furniture, and so on, paper through bamboo. So many areas open up through this collaboration between India and Bangladesh to the northeast. And this is absolutely tremendous. The other aspect of connectivity, which is so interesting and vital, is the whole development of the BBIN, the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal quadrilateral cooperation.
Yeah.
So now you see you have Bhutan and Nepal trading with Bangladesh, using India as transit, and all the mechanisms and modalities are being worked out for this. This can be done by road, this can be done by rail, and then through that Bhutan and Nepal can also access the ports of Bangladesh, whether it is Mongla port or Chittagong port. And so for Nepal, for example, instead of just depending on the Kolkata port, you have additional facilities for...
so the benefits flow not just for India and Bangladesh, for other countries in the neighborhood as well. But if you talk about, what Prime Minister Modi is going there for on the 26th of March, Professor Lama, that in itself, 3 concurrent landmark events, that perhaps will be something that is unprecedented as far as anything that generates feel-good between India and Bangladesh is concerned. So that will have its own impact on the overall ties, won't it?
Yes, I think so. I think that...
I was asking Professor Lama, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, please.
That's right. Well, thank you very much. I think the India-Bangladesh relations are now entering into a transforming phase. In the last 5 to 10 years, there has been substantive development in terms of connectivity, in terms of entire perceptions about India-Bangladesh relationship, and in terms of a number of other projects. What is very critical at this juncture, I think, when our Prime Minister visits, 3-4 things would come up in a big way. First, of course, is, Bangladesh is one of the least developed countries in South Asia, which is for the first time graduating into a developing country. And for that, it requires a substantive support, institutional support, transitional support, and I think India would be of tremendous support to Bangladesh in doing that, in extending all kinds of institutions or institutional support, consolidating its development process first. The second issue, which I think our Prime Minister would be very keenly looking forward to, and I'm sure he would be discussing that, is how to integrate Bangladesh in India's Act East policy. Because as Ambassador Sikri rightly pointed out, Bangladesh opening of the Northeast region to Bangladesh not only give them some kind of market, both for investment, trade, and all kinds of transfer, but also it would start giving some kind of access through Northeast to the Southeast Asian countries, particularly the Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar,
yes,
Vietnam, and Thailand, through particularly trilateral highway, starting from India, Manipur to Myanmar, and finally to Thailand. And this is adequately reflected in the latest vision document 2035 of the Northeast region, which is prepared by the Niti Aayog, and I think that is going to be very, very crucial. Now, the third issue, which is going to be pretty crucial in this, is how some of the pending projects are going to be put into action. Say, for example, the Tista River agreements,
right,
framework of an interim agreement on sharing of 6 rivers waters of Manu, Muhuri, Khoi, Gumti, Dharla, and Dudhkumar. But more than that, I think what is very important for India and Bangladesh today is to see how the national grid to national grid interconnections between India and Bangladesh, which actually started happening in 2013 and started having a kind of a cross-border power trading for the first time with Bangladesh, how it is going to be substantively increased, particularly when India's contributions in the Rampal power project, which is Bangladesh-India Friendship Power Company's project, when it happens in the course of next 1 year or so. I think that is very, very vital. The last thing I would like to mention is India is going to be very, very critical in the refugee management in Bangladesh. You have about 1.1 million Rohingya refugees, and Bangladesh has started having some kind of both compassion fatigue and aid fatigue, right? And both India and Bangladesh have not signed the 1951 conventions and the 1967 protocol for refugee management. Yet, India has been one of the best host of varieties of refugees from all across South Asia, including from Nepal, including from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and of course Afghanistan. I think India has a critical role in some kind of transferring institutional experiments, financial experiments, and of course legal and other processes in dealing with the Rohingya refugees, particularly.
Well, certainly. Dr. Jaishankar did say that it's a 360-degree partnership, and there are all the facets to it that are being explored and expanded as well. And Ambassador Sikri, clearly we can see that this is something that will keep gathering pace. There's nothing that really hinders it.
Yeah, I think it will certainly keep gathering pace, and I think that we have to look at new mechanisms and frameworks to allow this to happen. The Water Resources River Sharing Framework Agreement is one, but there's also SEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement between India and Bangladesh that is being studied. Because I think one of the best ways in which India and Bangladesh can strengthen and solidify their cooperation is by working together for exports to third countries, whether it is in the field of ready-made garments. We can work together. There's also talk of cooperation India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh in ready-made garments for exporting to the rest of the world. There's a lot of other areas where we can look at investments by Indian companies in Bangladesh for selling in Bangladesh, sending to the Northeast, and exporting to third countries of the world. So all these kind of very interesting cooperation agreements need frameworks and need a clear understanding on how it will be cooperating. And certainly BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC is another very vital institutional mechanism, because Bangladesh is also interested in strengthening its cooperation with Southeast Asia, and BIMSTEC, where the Secretariat is located in Dhaka, can certainly play a very big role in strengthening this mechanism. And I do hope that that will be one of the strong outcomes of the visit. Certainly on Rohingyas, Bangladesh is looking to India, because India now has a seat on the Security Council for the next 2 years, 21 and 22.
Yes.
And during this time, Bangladesh is hoping that India will be able to push for a solution or some kind of solution, so that these very, very large number of refugees which have been taken in by Bangladesh with a great deal of compassion and statesmanship by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, that they are able to find a meaningful solution that is acceptable to Myanmar and to Southeast Asia, and of course to Bangladesh and the rest of South Asia. I think Bangladesh and India cooperation is really setting the tone. It's a role model for cooperation in South Asia. And I think during the pandemic, it really highlighted how we can help each other in these times, and how we put it to practical use, that even in the terrible time of the pandemic, we were able to put our cooperation and understanding to tremendous use, because Bangladesh we have been given 2 million vaccine shots to them, but also they have bought some directly from Serum Institute of India. So, this is the way in which the progress can take place. And we do see that both Bhutan and Nepal are responding positively and are very interested in strengthening. So this is the real practical, not just words, but in actual practical measures. And that is why these summit meetings are so important, because I think that, now, one of the very interesting points I'd like to make for Prime Minister Modi's visit to Dhaka is this fascinating exhibition that has been created, the Bangabandhu Bapu digital exhibition, which brings together.
It was mentioned by his Dr. Jaishankar's counterpart as well.
Yes, yes. So that is tremendous. It brings the iconic figures of Bapu, Mahatma Gandhi, father of the Indian nation, and Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, father of the Bangladesh nation. And it's been created in a very fascinating way, which will highlight to the people of Bangladesh. I think
certainly, and knowing more about them would bring together, I believe, the younger segments of both the countries' populations as well. Both are very aspirational, and both have high ideals as well. and ambitions too, and I'm sure that will get a huge fillip as well when these two leaders actually physically meet. Prime Minister's first foreign visit as well in the COVID era. We all look forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, India has proposed the inclusion of Iran's Jawahar port in the International North-South Transport Corridor, which is a 7,200-kilometer multi-mode route spanning 13 countries. It has also called for Uzbekistan and Afghanistan to be made part of the corridor as well. External Affairs Minister Dr S Jaishankar made the proposals as part of the Jawahar Day event at the Maritime India Summit 2021. Take a look.
Today's event reflects India's strong commitment to work together with all regional stakeholders to enhance connectivity in our region and to provide unhindered access to the sea to landlocked Central Asian countries through Jawahar. Today's event also commemorates 5 years of the signing of the tripartite agreement on the establishment of a trilateral transport and transit corridor. This agreement is a fitting tribute to the rich civilizational, cultural and trade links between India, Afghanistan, Iran and Central Asia.
Jawahar port, located in southeastern Iran, is considered the forehead of the Eastern Development Route and the gate of the International North-South Transport Corridor. The External Affairs Minister, while addressing Jawahar Day commemorative event on the sidelines of the Maritime India Summit 2021, assured India's commitment towards the joint use of the Jawahar port for trade and transit purposes as well as for enhancing regional connectivity.
The shift in the fulcrum of global economic growth towards Asia is creating unprecedented opportunities for connectivity in the region. There is a huge infrastructure deficit in the region, which needs to be met to fulfill the growing aspirations of our peoples.
It was during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Iran in 2016 that a trilateral agreement to establish an international transport and transit corridor was signed by India, Iran and Afghanistan. External Affairs Minister Dr Jaishankar thus expressed hope that during the INSTC Council meeting, member states will agree to the expansion of the corridor's route to include the Jawahar port and also agree on expanding the membership of this project. India has utilized the Jawahar port to ship 75,000 metric tons of wheat as humanitarian food assistance to Afghanistan in September last year. India also assisted Iran to fight the first ever locust invasion in the last 25 years by supplying 25 metric tons of malathion in June last year, again through the Jawahar port. The port has not only emerged as a commercial transit hub for the region, but also facilitated the delivery of humanitarian assistance by India, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, to the nations in need. Besides the Indian exports of food products, the port has also handled several shipments and transshipments from Russia, Brazil, Thailand, Germany, Ukraine and the UAE. Commemorating Jawahar Day on Thursday, India also pitched for including Afghanistan and Uzbekistan in the International North-South Transport Corridor, a 7,200-kilometer multi-mode route spanning 13 countries. Jawahar port not only opens door to the energy-rich Iran, but also gives India access to Afghanistan, Russia and Europe via Iran, circumventing Pakistan. The port's location, being just 150 kilometers away from Pakistan's Gwadar port, also enhances its strategic importance. Bureau Report, DD India.
And that brings up our second in focus for tonight. 5 years of Jawahar Agreement, and to talk about it, we have Yogesh Gupta with us. He's former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs. Good evening to you, Mr. Yogesh Gupta. What do you make of this prospect and these proposals that the External Affairs Minister has said that A, include Jawahar port in the International North-South Transport Corridor and the inclusion also of these two countries?
Well, I think it's a very important initiative, and it is very timely because Iran had got isolated, in the past couple of months because of the very stiff attitude taken by the Trump administration and sanctions imposed by them. And that had allowed China to make inroads, deep inroads in Iran. So now that we are back to, now that there is a different government in the US, which is reconsidering their whole attitude, their whole policy towards Iran. So we get this opening, and I think this will greatly help Iran as well as Afghanistan and countries of Central Asia as well as the former CIS states, in deepening our engagement with these countries as well as expanding our economic and technical cooperation with them.
But in terms of how this entire corridor has progressed, I'm talking about the International North-South Transport Corridor, how do you assess its progress so far and the kind of scope that it has now when the situation seems to be improving and India is clearly signaling that it wants things to move on?
Well, we have made quite a bit of use of the Jawahar port, both for sending wheat supplies to Afghanistan, for sending certain chemicals which were needed by Iran as pesticides for fighting locust infection. Then there is great potential to use this Jawahar port both for supply of important for trade and infrastructure linkages with countries of Central Asia, for instance, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and then beyond to CIS states like Armenia and so on. And as you said earlier, there is a proposal to link up the Jawahar port with the International North-South Corridor.
Yes.
And once that becomes possible, then it should be possible for India to send goods using this route right up to Turkey. And then Russia also becomes an important part of this, which is a important initiative from our perspective. And I think this is a very important and timely development.
Right. And do you think that this proposal will find acceptance among the other members of this corridor as well? Because it will be of tremendous benefit to everyone, because if India has a huge market, people want to trade with India, and people also want goods and services from India, and Jawahar is a very ready link to a huge port in Mumbai.
Yes, absolutely. You see, India is emerging as a major emerging economy. It is expected that this year we are going to have GDP growth rates of close to 11 to 12%. And we have already a big economy, and given the way we are developing, it should be possible for countries such as Iran, Afghanistan, countries in Central Asia, as well as countries of the former Soviet Republic, CIS states, and right up to Turkey, to benefit from this. These days, more and more countries want, multilateral linkages. More and more countries want multilateral framework. Nobody wants to be dependent on just one country or two countries. No, everybody wants to benefit from linkages with multilateral networks. So in that sense, I think this will be of great value, great help to all these countries. And India does not have any adverse relations with any country in this region. So India's ability to help them should be welcomed by them, because we don't have any ulterior political motives.
Right. And we've seen how there have been signals that things might move further as far as, reviving the nuclear deal is concerned, the Iran nuclear deal, where we've had positive signals coming in from especially the US side. Iran is still holding out, it seems, because it rejected the latest offer. But clearly, one is just waiting for someone to move first in a definitive direction there.
Yeah, you see, there is a lot of negotiation going on. You see, Iran's priority is that it wants the US to revoke the sanctions, because Iran has been hurting very badly due to the economic sanctions imposed by the US. And the only thing that Iran has with them is their nuclear capability. So in the recent weeks, Iran has sent signals that it has started enriching uranium beyond the 3.67% limit, which was agreed in the 2015 agreement called JCPOA. And now Iran says itself that they are enriching it up to 20%. But according to independent reports, the enrichment done by Iran has exceeded much higher than this. And there are varying estimates as to how much time Iran will take. But these sort of vary from 9 months to even lesser period. And then there are other issues, because the US and Israel and Saudi Arabia, these countries, they are keen that while they revive the JCPOA, they should be also able to cap Iranian support to its proxies, in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, and so on. So the idea is that Iran's influence, which is upsetting the regional political equilibrium, that should also be contained. So the negotiations are going on. I think the US has already started getting in touch with them. Countries of Europe are also involved. So both sides are negotiating, and let us hope that they are able to work out something, because it is in nobody's interest to push Iran completely in the lap of China.
Right.
That's going to cause adverse impact on many countries.
Yes, you've mentioned the China factor twice, and that is something that has to be given its own due. I'm sure it will be, part of that calculus that will ensure that things move on further for the North-South corridor as well, and its inclusion, that is, including Chabahar into it. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening. Okay, moving on now. It's been the bloodiest day as far as Myanmar is concerned since the 1st of February coup, because over 50 people have been killed and many more injured on Thursday in the military government's crackdown against pro-democracy protesters. International condemnation has been sharp, with calls to end repression by the likes of French President Emmanuel Macron. The UN Security Council is now once again set to take up the situation in India's Southeast Asian neighbor on Friday in a closed-door meeting.
The world community has condemned the crackdown by Myanmar security forces on protesters on Thursday, in which more than 50 people were killed. Security forces fired live ammunition, rubber bullets and tear gas to break up anti-coup protests in many parts of the country. Over 100 people have been killed and more than 1,700 detained since coup in the country. The rallies in Yangon, Mandalay, Maingan and other cities and towns came as thousands of mourners attended a funeral for a 19-year-old woman who was killed in Wednesday's violence. 3 police officers even crossed over the border into northeastern India to escape taking orders from the military junta that is trying to suppress protests against last month's coup. UN Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet has urged security forces to halt their crackdown on peaceful protesters. UN Special Envoy on Myanmar, Christine Schraner Bergner, said in New York that March 3rd was the bloodiest day since February 1 coup.
The bloodiest day since the coup happened on the 1st of February. We had only today, 38 people died. We have now more than over 50 people died since the coup started, and many are wounded. Altogether, we have around 1,200 people are now detained, and many families don't know where their members of the families are detained, if they are healthy or not. So how can we watch this situation longer?
The United States was also appalled by Myanmar security forces' violent crackdown on protesters. It called on Myanmar authorities to release an Associated Press journalist and 5 other members of the media who have been detained and charged with violating a public order law.
We are appalled and revulsed to see the horrific violence perpetrated against the people of Burma for their peaceful calls to restore civilian governance. We call on all countries to speak with one voice to condemn brutal violence by the Burmese military against its own people and to promote accountability for the military's actions that have led to the loss of life of so many people in Burma.
Protesters have gathered worldwide support in favor of reinstatement of elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi and recognition of her victory in the November elections. In latest, French President Emmanuel Macron renewed his call on Thursday for an immediate end to repression in Myanmar. The UN Security Council is also scheduled to discuss the situation on Friday in a closed-door meeting. Bureau Report, DD India.
And it's a big day for India on the international stage. The United Nations General Assembly has accepted by consensus India's proposal, backed by other co-sponsored nations, to make 2023 the International Year of Millets. India is the largest producer of millets in the world, and Prime Minister Modi has hailed the move, saying consumption of millets furthers nutrition, food security and welfare of farmers.
Food processing also holds solutions to nutrition security. For example, our coarse grains and millets have high nutrition value. They can also withstand adverse agroclimate conditions. They can be called nutrition-rich and climate-smart crops.
It was this vision that Prime Minister Narendra Modi proposed that 2023 will be declared as the International Year of Millets. India took this proposal to the UN General Assembly, backed by Bangladesh, Kenya, Nepal, Nigeria, Russia and Senegal, where it was adopted by consensus. Ambassador of India to UN T.S. Tirumurti tweeted, "Delighted that Indian-sponsored UN resolution on International Year of Millets 2023 was adopted by consensus in UNGA this morning. Big step to promote nutritional and ecological benefits of millets as a key component of food basket and effect policy changes. Big thank you to all co-sponsors, especially Bangladesh, Kenya, Nepal, Nigeria, Russia and Senegal, and all member states of UN for their strong support." Prime Minister Narendra Modi also hailed the move in a tweet. India is honored to be at the forefront of popularizing millets, whose consumption furthers nutrition, food security and welfare of farmers. This also offers research and innovation opportunities for agricultural scientists and startup communities. Gratitude to all the nations who initiated and co-sponsored the resolution on International Year of Millets at the UN. Distinguished delegates were also served delicious millet murukku. This is one snack I also relish and urge all of you to try it as well. India is the third largest producer of millets. Described as a climate-smart crop, it needs little irrigation and is hardy. Since it is gluten-free and boasts high protein, fiber and antioxidant contents, millets is a highly nutritious grain. After International Yoga Day, International Year of Millets epitomizes India's vision of global good in a world that is one family. Bureau Report, DD India.
And close at home, Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan faces a vote of confidence from Parliament after the government's finance minister lost a high-profile Senate seat election on Wednesday. Imran Khan today addressed the nation in which he vowed not to surrender before the opposition and sought a vote of confidence. He said that he joined politics not for power but to serve the country. Imran Khan, in his emotional address, said that he will root out corruption and fight for justice and equity. He said opposition would not dangle the sword of a vote of no confidence to blackmail him. Now, Iraq is deploying thousands of additional security personnel to protect Pope Francis during his 4-day visit, which comes after a spate of rocket and suicide bomb attacks, raising fears about the Catholic leader's safety. A senior security official who has been briefed on the security plan said that forces involved had been trained to deal with worst-case scenarios, from street battles to bombings and rocket attacks. The visit from 5th to 8th March is the first ever papal visit to Iraq. The country has seen a spike in COVID-19 cases, further complicated preparations. Pope Francis said he is making the trip to show solidarity with the country's minority Christian community. Pope John Paul II came close to visiting but had to cancel a planned trip in the year 2000. And back home, the nationwide vaccination drive in the country is gathering pace. Thursday also saw several union ministers, chief ministers, lieutenant governors and opposition leaders taking the shot, with the overall numbers crossing the 1.7 crore mark. But Maharashtra, Kerala, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Karnataka are still reporting a surge in the daily new cases.
The COVID-19 vaccination is fast gaining pace as the second phase of the drive is now open to senior citizens and those above 45 years with comorbidities. Thursday saw many union ministers, lieutenant governors, chief ministers, opposition leaders and common people getting the COVID-19 jab. The COVID-19 vaccination drive is going smoothly across the country. Elderly and people with comorbidities aged 45 years took the vaccine dose at different centers. There was enthusiasm among senior citizens after taking the jab.
से पहले जिनको लगा था मेडिकल वर्कर्स वगैरह, तो उनको किसी को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुई है और अभी हमने भी लगाया 10 मिनट हो चुके हैं तो हमें बिल्कुल ठीक लग रहा है, कोई कम प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। हम तो सबको यही सजेस्ट करेंगे, हाथ जोड़ के विनती भी करेंगे कि जरूर लगवाएं सब।
ये सबको लेना चाहिए, डोज भी लेनी चाहिए और उसके बाद में प्रिकॉशन पूरा लेना चाहिए।
बहुत अच्छा फील हो रहा है और लोगों के एक्साइटमेंट देख के भी लग रहा है कि लोग सब लगवाना चाहते हैं।
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman received her first dose of COVID-19 shot at a hospital in New Delhi. In a tweet, the Finance Minister said, and I quote, "Got my first dose of the vaccination against COVID-19 this morning, thanking Sister Ramya PC for her care and professionalism. Fortunate to be in India where development and dissemination has been prompt and affordable." Union Tourism and Culture Minister Prahlad Singh Patel also took the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine at New Delhi's AIIMS. Delhi's Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal received the first shot of the COVID-19 vaccine at a hospital in Delhi. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha took his first dose of COVID-19 vaccine at the Government Medical College and Hospital in Jammu. After taking the vaccine, the Lieutenant Governor said it was a smooth process and he urged all the eligible people to get the vaccine dose.
आज जम्मू मेडिकल कॉलेज में मैंने कोविडशील्ड वैक्सीन लिया है कोरोना के लिए और मुझे लगता है कि मुझे तो पता ही नहीं लगा कि वैक्सीन भी लगी है और मेरा निवेदन होगा जम्मू कश्मीर के सभी निवासियों से जो इस श्रेणी में आते हैं कि शीघ्र वैक्सीनेशन लेने का कष्ट करें और ये पूरी तरह सुरक्षित है।
Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan also received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine in Bhopal. Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jai Ram Thakur also got his first dose of COVID-19 vaccine in capital Shimla.
आज मुझे इस बात की प्रसन्नता है कि हमने भी शुरुआत की और हमारे साथ में हमारे स्पीकर महोदय वो भी शुरुआत बहुत बड़ी एक उम्मीद के साथ जो इंतजार कर रहे थे कि वैक्सीन आएगी और वैक्सीन आने के बाद निश्चित रूप से इस बड़े संकट से दुनिया को बाहर निकालने में हम सब लोग सफल होंगे।
Some opposition leaders might have questioned the efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccine, but with former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal receiving their first COVID-19 jab, all the speculations have been laid to rest. The vaccination drive is progressing at a rapid pace across the country. Even as the COVID-19 vaccination drive is going at full pace, Maharashtra, Kerala, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Karnataka continue to report a surge in the COVID daily new cases. They cumulatively account for 85.51% of the new cases reported in the past 24 hours. 17,407 new cases were registered in the last 24 hours. Maharashtra reported the highest daily new cases at 9,855. This is the highest number recorded in Maharashtra since 18th October when 10,259 new cases were reported. It is followed by Kerala, the 2,765, while Punjab reported 772 new cases. Bureau Report, News Night Desk, DD India.
Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of State Independent Charge, Housing and Urban Affairs, announced the release of the final rankings of Ease of Living Index 2020 and the Municipal Performance Index 2020 today at an online event. 111 cities participated in the assessment exercise that was conducted in 2020. Now, Bengaluru emerged as the top performer in the million-plus category, followed by Pune, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Surat, Navi Mumbai, Coimbatore, Vadodara, Indore and Greater Mumbai. In the less than a million category, Shimla was ranked the highest in ease of living, followed by Bhubaneswar, Silvassa, Kakinada, Salem, Vellore, Gandhinagar, Gurugram, Davangere and Tiruchirappalli. And similar to the Ease of Living Index, the assessment framework under Municipal Performance Index 2020 classified municipalities based on their population, million plus and less than a million population. In the million plus category, Indore has emerged as the highest ranking municipality, followed by Surat and Bhopal. In the less than a million category, New Delhi Municipal Council has emerged as the leader, followed by Tirupati and Gandhinagar. Now, the Ease of Living Index is an assessment tool that evaluates the quality of life and the impact of various initiatives for urban development. The Municipal Performance Index was launched as an accompaniment to the Ease of Living Index. It seeks to examine local government practice in municipalities across areas of services, finance, policy, technology and governance. A citizen perception survey holding a weightage of 30% is part of the Ease of Living Index 2021. Now, Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting Prakash Javadekar held an interaction with representatives of various OTT platforms on Thursday, including from Alt Balaji, Hotstar, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Jio Z5, Viacom 18, Shamaru, MX Player and others. Addressing the representatives of the industry, the minister mentioned that the government has done several rounds of consultation with the OTT players in the past and stressed the need for self-regulation. The minister appreciated that many OTT platforms welcomed the rules. Informing the industry representatives about the provisions of the rules, the minister said it merely requires them to disclose information and that there is no requirement of registration of any kind with the ministry. Speaking on the power of the government under the rules, the minister informed that the government will create interdepartmental committee to look at complaints which remain unresolved at the self-regulatory level. 12 Indian institutions have made it to the top 100 of the World QS World University Rankings by Subject 2021. Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank addressed the unveiling of QS World University Rankings 2021 on Thursday. He said that he expressed his happiness and congratulated 12 Indian institutions on securing position in top 100 in the QS subject rankings for the year 2021. He said over the last few years, the government's continuous focus on improvement and reform in Indian higher education has resulted in significant improvement in the representation of Indian institutions in globally acclaimed and reputed rankings like QS.
IIT बॉम्बे है, IIT दिल्ली है, IIT मद्रास है, IIT खड़गपुर है, IISc बेंगलोर है, IIT गुवाहाटी है, IIM बेंगलोर है, IIM अहमदाबाद है, JNU दिल्ली है, अन्ना विश्वविद्यालय है और दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय है और प्राइवेट क्षेत्र का OP जिंदल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी है। ये 12 विश्वविद्यालय आज QS रैंकिंग में पूरे विश्व के 40,000 विश्वविद्यालयों में अपनी प्रथम 100 के अंदर आकर के इन्होंने हिंदुस्तान का सम्मान बढ़ाया है।
And now let's get you news from across the country in our national wrap as well.
The Employees Provident Fund organization has decided to retain interest rate on Provident Fund deposits at 8.5% for the financial year 2020-2021. The decision was taken at the 228th meeting of Central Board of Trustees held in Srinagar under the chairmanship of Union Minister of State for Labour and Employment Santosh Kumar Gangwar. Science and Technology Minister Dr. Harshvardhan exhorted scientists of CSIR laboratories across the country to develop the land available at each laboratory to be set up as a model under the CSIR Floriculture Mission. The minister was addressing the gathering at the launch of CSIR Floriculture Mission through virtual mode in New Delhi on Thursday. The Supreme Court on Thursday came down heavily on over-the-top platforms, saying some kind of screening is needed. The Apex Court added that pornography was also shown on some web series. The observation came while hearing a petition filed by Amazon India head Aparna Purohit. The matter is posted for hearing on Friday, asking the centre to submit before it the regulations on OTT platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime. The Supreme Court has directed all states that elderly people should be given priority in admission and treatment at private hospitals besides at government medical institutions amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The top court modified its earlier order of 4th August 2020 by which it had directed only government hospitals to give priority in admission and treatment of elderly people looking at their vulnerability to coronavirus. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has emphasized the importance of emotional and social skills for engineering students along with technical skills. He said that these skills will enable them to adapt to a rapidly changing world. Interacting with students of IIT Tirupati on the occasion of its 6th Institute Day on Thursday, the Vice President appealed to them to connect their knowledge with social relevance.
The BJP Central Election Committee meet is underway in Delhi to finalize party candidates for 60 assembly seats that will go to the polls in the first two phases of the West Bengal election. The Bharatiya Janata Party on Thursday approached the Election Commission with a complaint against West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. The Saffron Party claimed that the ruling Trinamool Congress was planning to disturb the upcoming assembly elections in the state through booth capturing. 4 people including film actor and director Dheeraj Pandit, actor Subhadra Mukherjee and BJP leader Usha Chaudhary joined the TMC in Kolkata. Singer Aditi Munshi also joined the TMC in presence of party MP Saugata Roy. BJP took swipe at Congress for the growing voices of dissidents within. Party spokesperson Gaurav Bhatia said some leaders of G23 have raised questions over its alliance with ISF in West Bengal, but Rahul Gandhi has not even bothered to respond to such questions by his own party members. Ahead of the Kerala Assembly polls, the Congress-led UDF on Wednesday unveiled its election campaign slogan Nadu Nanakan UDF to make state better UDF. Releasing the slogan after a UDF meeting, opposition leader Ramesh Chenitala said there will be a tagline UDF gives the word, along with the list of projects announced by the coalition.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a virtual summit with Prime Minister of Sweden Stefan Löfven on Friday. This will be the 5th interaction between the two leaders since 2015. Prime Minister Modi had visited Stockholm in April 2018 for the first India-Nordic summit. Prime Minister Stefan Löfven has visited India in February 2016 for the special Make in India week. Earlier, the two leaders had met on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in September in 2015. In April 2020, the two Prime Ministers had a telephonic conversation to discuss the situation arising out of the COVID-19 pandemic. India and Sweden have warm and friendly relations based on shared values of democracy, freedom, pluralism and rules-based international order. And Prime Minister Modi will receive the CERAWeek Global Energy and Environment Leadership Award and deliver a keynote address at the Cambridge Energy Research Associates Week 2021 on Friday via video conferencing. CERAWeek was founded in 1983 by Dr. Daniel Yergin. It is considered the world's premier annual energy platform. CERAWeek 2021 is being convened virtually from the 1st of March till the 5th this year. CERAWeek Global Energy and Environment Leadership Award was instituted in 2016. It recognizes the commitment of leadership on the future of global energy and environment and for offering solutions and policies for energy access, affordability and environmental stewardship. And let's get you a sports update now. What happened in cricket? Well, by the end of the first day of the 4th test being played against England in Ahmedabad, India had scored 24 runs for the loss of 1 wicket. Pujara and Rohit Sharma were on the crease with 15 and 8 runs respectively. Shubman Gill was dismissed by Anderson for a duck. Earlier, England posted 205 runs against India in their first innings. The visitors initially won the toss and elected to bat. England had a poor start, losing crucial wickets in a quick manner. Despite Ben Stokes' half-century, England were bundled out in 75.5 overs. Akshar Patel was once again in top form, taking the wickets of Dom Sibley, Zach Crawley, Dan Lawrence and Dom Bess. Meanwhile, Mohammad Siraj dismissed Joe Root and Johnny Bairstow. Washington Sundar took the important wicket of Ben Stokes. Also, Ashwin got 3 wickets as well. And that's all we have for the moment in this edition of Newsnight. But for all the latest, do stay tuned to DD India, and always remember to observe social distancing, wash hands, wear a mask, and if you get a turn, get the shot as well. Thanks for watching.